Okay, there we go. He's my shirt. So, welcome. We are going to be chatting today about whether or not the CPTE is your next step, kind of talking about what that next step looks like, and hopefully just bringing some clarity to what we know so far. I have been hesitant to do this webinar. You've probably seen on our Instagram, we haven't posted a lot about the CPTE because I do feel like we had a few key things that we wanted to wait for. We wanted to wait for the board meeting from Ontario. We wanted to wait for some students to hear back on some key emails that they had been asking some questions. And I felt probably about towards the end of last week that we had received enough information that I felt like I had something worth sharing, right? So I'm going to be sharing everything that I know. Please, 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 if you do have questions, I am going to ask that you use the question kind of box towards the end. There is a Q&A. You can kind of see it says Q&A on your like bottom dash. I will be going over those towards the end. If you have anything that's like really timely, put it in the chat and I will do my best to answer it. There is a lot of you here, so I'm going to do my absolute best to get to everything, but please be patient. If you see that I am like missing your question, it's not that I'm purposely missing it. Maybe I am. Maybe I'll purposely miss a few. No kidding. But if it is something that I feel like I can answer, I'll definitely address it. If it's something I don't think I can answer, I will tell you that I don't know the answer. Okay. Huge disclaimer as we start this. I have no access to information that you don't have access to. Nothing I have is like secret, top secret information, but a lot of what I do have is, students, as I said, who have contacted CAPR, who have contacted the colleges, and they've asked for a response, and we've kind of been able to piece things together from their responses. With that said, I am going to give a lot of my opinion. I hesitate giving my opinion because I feel like opinions are scary to give, but I will be giving my opinion because I do think guidance is needed right now. I think this is a really scary time for people. I think it's a very quick transition that they're doing. And so I'm hoping that I can add some calm to this, some clarity to this. So let's go. Let's dive in. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover the differences between the two exams. So I'm going to refer to it as the two exam system or model and the one exam model. So the two exam model, we're going to be referring to that as like what is currently in place. And the one exam model is going to be what's coming in 2026. Does everyone understand what I mean by that? That is kind of key to moving forward here. So give me a yes if that makes sense. Cool, cool, cool. Thumbs up. Love that. Next thing, excuse me. The next thing we are going to talk about what we know and what we need to find out before making some decisions. We're going to talk about the pros and cons, some hot topic questions. A lot of you sent in really, really great questions on Instagram, so thank you for that. And the Q&A at the end. And in the Q&A at the end, what I'm going to do is I am going to ask people to give me their situation, their scenario, and then I'm going to kind of like talk through that. So you can send it in anonymously, you can send it just to me and I won't say your name. You can kind of give me your scenario and then hopefully we can kind of brainstorm through what we think your best kind of move forward is. Do me one big favor. Everyone who is here right now, please go give us a follow on Instagram. It means so much to me to have all of you in that one community there. It's also the place where we put a lot of our updates. So when we do get key information, that's where it is going to go. So make sure you are following us there. Consider it to be like the ticket for admission to this webinar is that I just ask that you give us a follow. Okay, so let's dive in. So first of all, let's talk about the structure here. I'm going to move my chat box to the other screen. So if you see me looking over there, I'm just reading the chat box. Okay, let's talk about it. So first off, in this two exam pathway, you are taking a written and a clinical exam separately, right? So you have to complete your written exam by November 26, 2025, if you're sticking in that two exam pathway, and you need to complete your provincial clinical exam by its final administration. Okay, we'll talk about what final administration means and what I think it means may be different from what they're saying. And then there are in-person and remote options for that clinical exam as well as for the written exam, right? Then when we look at the one exam pathway, this is going to be your option if you're going to wait for the CPTE in January 2026. They're saying there's going to be very, very limited seats. Now, we've seen this before. We've seen limited seats before when the CPR has changed their exams, and they mean very limited seats. So it's more likely that your exam is probably going to be like February, March, April. I wouldn't really count on getting January. I bet you limited seats to them means like 20, 30 people. So very, very few. Then it is going to be a single combined exam. It will be run by a capper, and it is around 5 hours long. They're saying it is going to be 5 hours. It's going to be valid for all provinces except Quebec. Okay, tell me, how do you pronounce this word? Do you call it CAPR, type 1 in the chat box, or do you call it capper, type 2 in the chat box? What do you do? Look at that, 50-50. This is why I say it both ways. CAPR, that's a lot. A lot. Okay, that's pretty funny. See, we all say it differently. So the entire exam is virtual. So this is a fantastic option if you're wanting to stay abroad as you're doing your exam. Very similar to like the combo of doing your written remote and your OCE remote. So very similar combo there. Okay, let's keep going. So if we look at the structure, the written exam in the 2 exam pathway has 200 questions, 180 of them are vignette and 20 of them are standalone. Matter, that's funny. And in the 1 exam pathway, the written exam is going to be worth 40%. It is going to be 100 questions. 80% of them are vignette, 80 are vignette, 20 are standalone. And of those questions, 75 to 80 will be multiple choice, and 20 to 25% are going to be what are called media enhanced questions. So there could be audio, video, or pictures that you would use to answer these questions. Now, we are going to talk about this structure that they're changing to and my pros and cons kind of behind this. So first off, when we go to an exam where there are less questions, so shorter exams, each question means that it's going to have a larger percentage of your total score. So let me give you an example of this. We have 100 questions. Each question then is going to be 1% of your total score. Whereas in the 200 question exam, each question now only represents 0.5%. So this means that even missing a single question on this new exam is going to hold a much more significant impact on your kind of final grade or ability to pass. Let me put this into a bit better context. So we know that the vignette style questions on the new exam are going to have 4 questions in it. So let's say there's a question on, give me a topic that you're like, I don't know this very well. Give me a topic. Cardio. Okay. Cardio. Everyone's saying cardio. Let's do like pulmonary edema. There's a 4-question vignette on pulmonary edema. You're okay with it. You're not great, but you know what? You bomb those 4 questions. So now 4 questions on a 100-question exam is 4% of the exam. 4 questions on a 200-question exam is 2%. So a huge difference. 4% can really make or break it. So one topic can make or break you on this new exam. So this really means you have a reduced margin for error. With fewer questions, you really don't have the opportunity to compensate for mistakes, right? And just that one single error can really affect your overall score. So this, in my mind, really increases the stakes for each question. And this is not, I shouldn't just say my mind, this is not just my mind. This is something we know about high stakes exam. When they lower the amount of questions getting tested, it does make studying a little bit harder. Because one of the things that we do strategize, or we've previously taught students, is that you can kind of have, you can strategically skip topics, right? So something that we previously used to say is like, oh, you can skip knowing all the details of manual muscle testing, understand the theory behind it, and gravity eliminated, gravity assisted. But at the end of the day, you can probably think through it. And if you can't, it's usually 1 mark, right? Which means 0.5% on your exam. Not a big deal. We are very much going to be changing our tune for this next exam because everything really is a big deal. And you don't have this ability to kind of skip things because one small mistake is going to have a big impact. So I'm going to chalk this up to be a bit of a con of the new exam. Don't love this aspect, okay? All right, next we're going to talk about the clinical exam. So in our current structure, we have a virtual case-based exam in Ontario. Very, very similar to what is probably going to show up on this new pathway. And then for BC and Alberta, we have station-based exams. So the clinical exam on the one pathway system is 60%, and it is a verbal, virtual, case-based exam. What a mouthful. So, okay, hear me out here. I'm giving you one more disclaimer. You cannot get mad at me for this, but these are my own thoughts. I've not validated them by the CAPR or the colleges, but I'm going to be the one to say right now that I think that the CPTE virtual verbal exam is going to look very, very similar to the OCE. Hear me out. It has the same format. It is a 3-hour component. Okay. The previous OCE, so the OCE is changing this October. It used to be 2 cases and 11 vignette style cases, but they're changing that. They're changing that, right? And now what is happening is it's just going to be 2 cases. So now this is the same format as what they're saying the CPTE is going to be. The OCE has been a proven method for years. They know it works. So do we think they're going to recreate the wheel here? I don't think so. It also is saying it's going to follow the same blueprint for the most part, like very, very similar. The good news in all of this, I would venture to guess, and I'm totally talking with a bit of an ego here. I mean, I don't know if ego is the right word, but I'm going to throw the word ego out because I feel like the word ego is ick and not a nice one, but I'm going to do it here. We have a 98% pass rate for our course. So we feel confident that if this is the format that we're going to change to, I am happy for all of you. I'm excited about that because I know we can help you. And this is the ego thing I'm saying, because I feel I'm always the one that's like, I hope we can help you. But I want you to feel confident in us that we're going to be able to help you through this, because this is like our jam. The written exam, I appreciate. There's people that do lots of many different courses, but I feel very, very confident that you won't find a more comprehensive OCE course out there than ours. It's just so good. We have so many teachers who have poured their heart into it. We are doing a massive update to our course right now. Like I'm talking 7 teachers working full time. Can you see these bags under my eyes? We are working so hard on this OCE course because we really, really do feel like it's going to be worth doing all of this work, because I think it's going to be a huge component of the CPTE. Is it going to be identical? Maybe not. Is it going to be very, very similar? I do think so. Okay. I want to pause there for a second. Any questions at all? Take a second. Take it in, think about it. No questions. I'm surprised. No, no, no. Okay. Why do you think they made the oral part worth more than the written? Good question. So I think they made it more because they needed more time for it. It's going to be 2 hours for the written versus 3 hours for the clinical. I think 100 questions, again, like if we look at recent changes, they've also just done a change to the written exam, and it's now a 2-part 100 question exam. So I think just timing wise, it worked out better to allocate the marks that way. Can you please verify what vignette style cases are? Yeah, totally. So vignette style case is a paragraph of information with 4 follow-up questions. Is one exam more hard? I think I kind of talked about which written exam I think is going to be a little harder. I do think the new one is going to be more challenging. And then I think that the verbal exam is going to be very similar to what we currently have. I'll talk about that question a bit more. So the OCE will just be 2 cases, no more 11 vignette style questions. Michelle, this is correct, except it's starting in October, so not next year, October. Okay, lots of good, so many good questions, but they're not totally about this. So I'm going to keep going because I'm going to answer a lot of those. So I guess this is a good one with timing. Yes, it's 100 questions in 2 hours, and then your verbal in 3 hours. Okay. let's keep going. So the exam fees. So right now your written exam is 1,368. The Ontario clinical exam is 1,985. So I'm adding that to the written, and then that's where you get the 3,000. If we add the written in Alberta, you're at 21. And if we add BC to the written, you're at 2768. So they're saying it's not going to exceed 2,800. So if you're doing Alberta, you save a lot of money in the 2 pathway. If you're doing BC, it's pretty much the same. And then Ontario, you're arguably spending like, what is that? $200, $500, $400, $600 more. So quite a bit. Okay, for attempts. This is a very interesting one, and I want you all to listen to this very, very closely, okay? So right now, in the 2 exam pathway, you technically get 6 attempts. You get 3 at a written and 3 at a clinical, right? Now, if we think about that with your written, you get a July, August, September, November, but your registration for, say, November's exam. So November's exam application deadline is October 1st. So technically, there's a chance that the September marks could come out, but they likely won't because the September exam's the 24th. So you're kind of looking at 2 attempts. If you do July, you have the option of doing September or October, but one of those. If you do August, you're only really able to do November. And if you can't do July or August, then you're looking at 1 more attempt for the written. Okay. Then let's look at the clinical. So as of right now, they're saying there are 3 attempts at the clinical, but for Ontario, if you were to register right now, you're getting June 2026, which is crazy. And I will tell you, when we look at our registration, so last, like for this exam we just had in May, I think we had 260 students in our course. If we look at January and March, we're at like 40 and 20. And then if we look at June, we're at like 300. So something's going on where they're not allocating people to June and March for some reason. And I don't know what that reason is, but I do think that they're going to push some people from June earlier. So be aware of that. If you do get June, I wouldn't just be like waiting to study. I would definitely be getting ready to study, because if you say did get January, that still gives you potentially another attempt to do like a later exam for the OC as well to get another attempt. If we look at Alberta, they're saying October and February. Alberta has said that February is the last option. No other college has said this. So Ontario and BC have not announced when they are going to be done. Ontario has very clearly not announced it. They said like, we have not made our decision of when we're going to keep extending into. BC has just kind of like not talked about it. Okay. If we look at the 1 exam pathway, we're saying right now we're unsure how many attempts you're going to get, but it's definitely seeming like 3 is going to be the number from all the emails we can piece together. And I am putting this here, and this is really, really important. So we're unsure if past attempts will count or if you will refresh your attempts. I have had some students reach out with some pretty devastating things going on in their life where like, there's no way that they can write to the exam this year. We have someone who is actively quite ill and they reached out. We have someone else who is a caretaker for someone who is very ill and their parents have passed away. Anyways, they've reached out to CPR and these 2 are actually both on, actually one is on a final attempt and one has done 1 attempt. And if we look at both of those emails, what they're saying to them is, you can, if you can prioritize to take your last attempt this year, or you can take your last attempt at the CPTE. And I've been very careful to read the wording, and the other student's email was exactly the same. So you can take your attempt this year, or you can use your 2 remaining attempts for next year. So that very much is making me think that past attempts are going to count towards your total. And this kind of makes sense, because if you think about it, if you've had 3 attempts, like if you failed out, you took your written exam, you failed 3 times, they're not just going to be like, oh, here, you can come back and take this exam again. They're going to say like, no, you used all those attempts and you're done. So this is kind of, They're not saying anything about this. They're saying that they're going to release this in time. And I really, really hope they do change this because I would love to see people get 3 new attempts going forward. I also think it gives people a bit more confidence to just like go for the exam in 2025. So we don't have confirmation of this yet, but that is the information that I have seen. And so I wanted to pass it along. I know there's just so many questions that are in the chat box right now. I just want to just stop and just see if that makes sense. So if that makes sense, can you please say yes? Or if it doesn't, say no. Good. Okay. So the frequency, as of right now, the written is 10 times a year. And the clinical is 3 to 4 times a year, depending on the province. We are looking at 8 times a year for this one exam pathway. It's really interesting because there's a few places on the Alberta website that they say that January will have very few seats, but the other options will be unlimited. I don't think I believe that. I don't think they can be unlimited because it's going to be very, very heavy, like relying on physios to do these exams because you'll have to be proctored and watched for your written, and then you're going to have an examiner for the for the verbal clinical. And if they do what Alberta's doing or what Ontario's doing is they have 2 physios, one for case 1, one for part 2. So there might be 2 physios being in there. So you can imagine like there's only so many physios that are signing up to be examiners. So I think there's going to be a bit of a backlog here. Okay. I'm the most fidgety person. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to sit still, but I can't. Okay. Let's look at this 2 exam pathway as far as scoring goes. So right now you have to pass the written, and then when you pass the written, you are eligible to take the clinical. In the 1 exam pathway, it's a single combined pass or fail. Okay. If we look at the scoring as far as the weighting goes, this is the weighting of the exams. It's going to be heavy MSK and neuro, and then cardiovascular respiratory is 15%. We definitely see this to be a little bit higher in our experience. And then other systems being 15, I would say that's pretty accurate, but cardio, I would say it's definitely higher, and MSK is slightly lower here. Okay. The results for the written exam are taking about 2 weeks. For the clinical, they're taking about 2 weeks to 3 months. So that 3 months end of the spectrum is the OCE. The BC exam is very quick at about 2 weeks. And honestly, so is the Alberta. It's been pretty quick too. For the 1 exam pathway, they're estimating that it's going to be about 4 to 5 weeks. Alrighty. Let's talk about professional practice licenses. So this is from the Ontario website, but I've combined it a little bit with some information on the Alberta website. So let's talk about this. You are going to register, or you have registered and completely and successfully completed the written exam. So who here in the chat box, say me, has passed the written exam? Awesome. A few. So you are in this situation where you have passed. Who here is considering doing their written exam in 2025? Type me. Awesome. So all of you listen up here, okay? So let's just assume that you are going to pass in 2025. So you are going to say yes column. We go into the yes, you then apply and meet all registrant requirements. You then get a provisional practice license. Okay, this is for all provinces except for BC. BC, you have to pass the clinical before you can work. There's no such thing as provisional practice license. So every other province, for the most part, just for ease, let's say every other province, you will have your provisional practice license, and then you can do one of 2 things. You can register for the new CPTE exam to do that clinical component. It appears like you're doing the full thing as of right now. You're doing the written again and you're doing the clinical. There could be a chance that you're just doing the clinical component, but we don't know that. And then your other option is if there is still availability and it's still open, then you can register for the OCE, you can register for Alberta's postgraduate clinical exam, or you can register for BC's alternate clinical exam. So there are options after you pass your written. You can work, you get your license as a provisional license. You can either do any of the province's clinical exams, or you can do the CPTE's potential full exam. I don't know if they're going to break it out. If you pass that, then you're good to go apply for independent license and good to go. Now, if you are not successful at your written exam, you will not be able to register for a provisional license, and you will have to wait for this CPTE or CPE, whatever they're going to call it. They call it both. So with that in mind, if you are someone who lives in a province where you have a provisional license and you are there and you want to start working, this is a very, very big sign that like I would want to be taking my written exam in 2025 so that I can work and figure out the rest, figure out all the other craziness later, but start working. Because that's going to help you with any clinical exam you have to take. And it also gives you money. Now, if you're in BC, would I go and do the 2-exam pathway? I probably still would, to be honest. But if I was really having to stress and I don't know if I could do it, you could just wait and do the other one. Okay. Remember we talked about this remaining attempts a little bit. So on their website, they say, I have 1 or more PCE or current provincial exams left. Am I eligible to challenge it? So they're saying contact the regulator in your province. So this definitely makes it seem like it's a very province-based decision. One of the students that I told you in that email was from Alberta, and the other one was from Ontario. When will the CAPR post information about their eligibility policy? We're expecting to have it in June, so it should be out soon. And it'll be funny because when this video is out, it's either going to be that I am totally, totally, totally wrong or I'm right. I kind of hope I'm wrong because I would love to see that there is a refresh on attempts. I would love to see that. Okay, here are some big challenges of the CPTE or CPE, whatever they're going to call it. The new format is less familiar. We have no prior past data. So this is definitely going to be a little bit challenging for students. It's going to be a bit of an unknown. And you'll see that with our courses. Like what we do when we create our courses is we often have kind of the one that we think is the closest. And then we have kind of a backup based on some other information that we have. And then we have like a backup that is kind of like our other version if things go completely like what we don't think it's going to go. So we are really quick to push the go button when they say, here's all the information, because we're not just waiting for them to say like, here's the information, and then we build it. We've been building it for a long time, right? And as I said, the good news is we really are experts at the written and most definitely the OCE. So if we get any information that it is similar to the OCE, we're laughing. So that's wonderful. There is a high demand for first sittings, and we know they're going to have very few seats available. So it's very, very likely that people aren't going to be getting in the kind of first or second, third month of the year. So be prepared. The other big thing, and this is my personal biggest challenge that I want to make sure you're aware of, and that is it requires you to wear 2 hats at once. You have to put on your written multiple choice exam hat, which is a hard hat to wear. That's punny. It's a difficult hat to wear in itself. And now we're also putting on a clinical hat. So you are wearing both of these hats at the same time going into this exam. Versus in the 2 model system, you get to put your written hat on, you get to take that off, you get to chill out for a tiny little bit, and then you get to go, dump that information from your head, purge, bring in all the clinical information and go that way. So you can kind of silo your studying a little bit, which I personally think is so much easier. I don't know about you. I can even sit still for like a 45-minute webinar. You're telling me that I need to sit still for 5 hours? Like part of why physios are physios is because we need to move. Like we don't do well sitting. And you want to get me to sit for 5 hours? I would struggle with that. That's going to be hard. Okay. Right? Okay. Shameless plug, our course, we have a combined course for the written and the verbal clinical exam, the CPE that is coming. It is coming. I promise, like, we are well underway on developing this, unless like we get a total curveball and we're like, woohoo, we did not see that coming. We are very much on pace to have this out for you in kind of August, I'm going to say. You will have to prepare for a written component regardless of if you take the 1 or 2 exam method. So you need to be studying for the written, right? Like, you need to, regardless of which pathway you're doing, you need to do a written exam. So what we decided, and we appreciate that this is a very stressful process for everyone, and we do not want you to have to like make decisions based off of financial things. So what we have said is, if you do purchase the premium course until you pass subscription, we will apply that payment to the cost of the CPTE course when it's ready. So you don't have to purchase that other course again. We are going to support you. We are going to help you. So if you don't have the premium access course, until you pass subscription and you're considering doing the CPT, please do upgrade soon. I don't know when we're going to cut this off. We will have to cut this off soon. I'm assuming it's probably going to be around the end of June that we say anyone who purchases the written course at this time, we will do the switch over. All these little emojis coming up. This is so fun. But yeah, this is huge. This is a big decision that we went back and forth on. And ultimately, if there's anything that we can do, I think like the financial aspect is really stressful. And the studying aspect is really stressful. So let's help you with both and just say, just start studying. And then the financial thing, we will just credit the next course. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about some questions here. So what do you think the clinical verbal portion of the exam will be like? This was one of the most common questions that we got on Instagram. I think it's going to be like the OCE. I do. I really do. I hope that I am right with this. For so many accounts, again, we have a very strong pass rate, we have a very strong course, and we have a very easy method to get you there. And as I said, we are doing a huge update to our OCE course. Is there anyone here right now that's in the OCE course? I'm assuming probably not, because they already know what route they're doing, but oh, Michelle, okay. There's a few of you. So you could probably attest, like, for the people who are here, and give me your honest opinion. I promise I'm not paying these people. Like, a number out of 10, how are you finding that course? Like, a 1, it's terrible. A 10, it's great. Where are you at with a number? I will not be offended. 9. Okay. That's great. We're gonna 10. Perfect. You can easily add in like 5 more bonus points to that in our new OCE. It's going to be so good. And again, everyone who is here, who is in the OCE course, when our new OCE course is ready, we will contact you and we will switch you over. So you don't have to pay to go into the new OCE course. You will just be brought over into it. Okay. So no stress about that either. And I promise you, we will contact you. You don't have to contact us. Don't worry. Okay. We're hoping to have it ready, like I'm gonna say maybe by middle of July, end of July, we're hoping to have it ready. Maybe sooner if we can just find out a few little bits of information more. We're just waiting on a few things to tweak. We're making a lot more cases for you. But yeah, it's great. If you like it now, you're gonna freaking love it. Okay, the other thing I will just say, because I did see this question a few times, was it used to be 2 cases and 11 vignette style questions. Those 11 vignette style questions are now not going to be asked, but they are going to be intertwining them within the case 1 and case 2. Okay, so it's still kind of there. Umi is asking, what is the fee of the CPTE clinical only? They're not separating it. It's a combined exam, so there's no separation. Okay, I am left with 2 attempts. I've taken the exam once. What should I do? So this is a really tough question, and I am getting this a lot recently. So let's talk about this. How many people are in this situation? You can go anonymously, you can do host and panelists, but how many of you are in this situation where you have 2 attempts left? So you've taken the exam once, any of the exams once. Okay, there's a lot of you. Okay. I think what decisions should be based on is the fact that there's going to be no reset of attempts. There's going to be no reset, meaning like once you go to do the CPTE, if you have 2 attempts left, you're probably going to have 2 attempts at the CPT. If you have 1 attempt left at the written or clinical, you probably are going to have 1 attempt left at the CPTE. I think that's an assumption that is proving to be more and more clear. But again, we should find this out very soon. In June, we should know the answer to that. So if you have 2 attempts left at the written, my thought process would be, I would definitely try to get 1 more attempt in, because this means that you actually do reset to 3 attempts at a clinical. Do you get that? Like you don't reset, at least we don't think you're going to reset to new attempts at the CPTE, but you will reset for that clinical. So, I think that's important. I think that's really nice. So again, if you have 2 attempts left at the written and you're successful and you pass that written exam under the 2 exam pathway, that means that you are going to get your new attempts at a clinical exam. That's very nice. You get 3 attempts just at a clinical exam, right? If you pass the written, you should be getting then 3 attempts at the CPTE exam, but you've already done the written, so that's kind of silly to go and do it that way, right? So if you have 2 attempts left, I would be taking one of those if you can this year. I would. Okay. Sorry, I know there's so many questions there. I'm going to get through the ones that people sent me ahead of time, and then we'll get to yours. So how many times will you be able to take the CPTE? We do not know the answer to this yet. My best guess is going to be 3. If I've taken the written exam once, will that be taken off my attempts at the CPTE? Too many letters. So many questions like this, as you can tell. I don't know. We're going to have this information released in June, but my best guess at this point in time is yes, that will be taken off of your chances at the CPTE. Do you think they will add more written or clinical exams to the current system? This is a very interesting question. I'm torn about this. I do think that Ontario is going to add more, and I do think BC is going to add more. Now, Alberta has very kind of strictly said no. I think they might be holding to that. I do think that Ontario might get really strict with who takes it too. I think that they might require you to be registered in Ontario and be planning to stay there. I don't know how they validate that, but I think that there's a way that they might do that. We have had some confirmation saying that you have to have applied to take the Ontario clinical exam by January 2026. You cannot go later, or else they won't get you in. So I think that's really important, and potentially why they're doing this, like filling up June and not filling up January and February, is because they're setting this cutoff. So make sure if you passed the written, whether it be in November, whether it be a month ago, you are applying for the Ontario clinical exam, because they are going to shut off registration for it. Do I think they're going to add another written exam? I don't think so. Will I be able to switch from the premium course to the new one? We already talked about this. The answer is yes, you will. Well, I shouldn't say you will be able to switch. You'll be able to apply your payment from that to the CPTE course. Will we have a course? Yes, we will. And honestly, at this point in time, it is going to be combined. It is not going to be a separate written, and it's not going to be a separate clinical, because how we are formulating this course right now is very intertwined. We need to prep you in a way that that information is going to stay fresh on the day of. Like, we can't silo teach you anymore. We can't teach you one way for the written and teach you a different way for the clinical. We have to be able to kind of combine it a little bit, right? Because you have to be able to dig all that information up on the day. So it's not going to be a separated course. Okay. Now, I know that you have lots of questions. Please do me a favor now, go write them in the Q&A. Can people see the little thumbs up on there? The thumbs up is a way that you can upvote questions, meaning if you like that question, if you want me to answer it, you can press it. Not the hand raise. It's actually like in the Q&A, there should be a thumb up or upvote. Please tell me it's there. No, is it not there? No. Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see people using it. Perfect. I'm like, I double check that it was there. So you can see like Teresa's question has 3 thumbs up. So please do me a favor. If there is a question that you want me to answer, give it a thumbs up, and I'm just going to read the ones that are on the top. So go through those questions, see which ones you like, and press them. Okay, there's a new blueprint for the CPTE 2026. Will there be changes on the coverage of topics when we enroll with PT Prep? I think there's only 100 items for the written exam. So yes, there is a new blueprint. It is very much the same though. Honestly, it's very much the same. I was part of the kind of polling where you had to vote on like which sections you wanted to be highly represented in there. The big thing is going to be ethics. Ethics is going to be huge, which anyone who knows PT exam prep, the professional standards section of our course and how we prep you is like our number one priority. I feel like I've yelled from the rooftops for years now that it is not like a factual theoretical based exam. It's a professional issues. It's a clinical decision making. It's, clinical reasoning. And I think that all we're going to see now is that it's just going to be the same thing. It's going to be very, very focused on that. And I think the blueprint is just a little bit more focused on representing that rather than what they were showing before. Okay. Hopefully that answered that. I just started preparations this month and I have a newborn and internationally educated. Congratulations. My deadline is March 2026. Is it worth waiting to give the exam next year or should I give the exam in October? Okay, so this was another thing that was on their website and they said that if you haven't done your exam in that 2-year timeline, you have to consider this. So my advice for you would be, oh, this is hard. Like I know you got a baby. And as a mama myself, I feel you. Fun fact, not fun. It was actually such a traumatic time in my life. But so I'm self-employed. I'm not an employer. I don't have benefits. I don't get mat leave. So when I had my second, I was like, I'm going to pre-plan as much as I can so that I can kind of take like 6 weeks off, but like 6 weeks of maybe working like 2-3 hours a day to just like be with my baby. And I had care organized for my older kiddo. And then COVID happened a week before I had my child. So, and all the exams got canceled and we had all these students freaking out and it was going to be a virtual exam. And so I had my baby home, I had my toddler home, and I had to recreate a whole virtual clinical exam course. Luckily, I have amazing teachers and we all like got together and made it all happen. But wild time. So Urvashi, I totally sympathize with this. I personally think that it's probably best that you try to do it in 2025 because the stress of not being able to get one of your exams in by March 2026 would not be worth it for me. Like that's just out of your control. If you don't get a date, then what, you got to go through the credentialing process all again and pay for that all again. I think that would be more stressful, but they're both hard. Choose your hard. Okay. How are they going to calculate, let's say I ace the clinical part, but not the written? It's just weighed. So the clinical is weighed at 60 and the written is weighed at 40. So if you got, you killed the clinical part, you got 60% and you didn't kill the written at 20, that could still maybe get you to where you need to be, but they're just weighted. I just wrote my exam a few days ago and I'm currently waiting for my results, but I'm worried if I pass, should I wait for the clinical part? If I don't, should I fully wait for next year? So I'm going to say anyone who has the opportunity to do their written exam and they have 2 attempts left or 1 attempt or as long as you have 2 attempts left, or 3, I for sure would be going for the exam this year. I definitely would. Like if you have the option to get through your written exam before November of this year, I would absolutely do that. Absolutely. Natalie, just to make sure, let's say we do the PC this year, first attempt. If we do not pass, we for sure will be able to take the CPTE, right? They can't just make us only have 1 attempt. Correct. No, they could never do that. They could never do that. So if the OCE in Ontario is closed, but Alberta and BC is still running, could I do the OCE there? I don't quite get your question. Sorry. You could not do like the OCE is done through the Ontario College. So if they're saying it's full, like they don't have any more, then yeah, you have the option of going to the other provinces unless they close it to outside candidates, but I don't think they'll do that. I think what's going to happen is all the colleges are going to work together to just get through the people who need to get through. Yeah. Could you please explain if someone in Manitoba and pass a written in the end of this year and starting working end of this year under supervision, would it be count or do they have to go through the new pattern? I don't know the answer to that. I do not know the answer to that. I know that there is stuff on their website that just talks about some situations, but I'm sorry, I don't know that answer. If we have the Canadian student package, would that transfer over to the new course? Or do we need to buy an extra course? So anything that you have, I don't know the answer to that either. We actually haven't talked about the Canadian course because there's funding that goes into that one. So Natalie, I don't know, but I will say for the most part, no, I'll just say like, we're very fair. So we're not trying to gouge you. If you need to switch from one course to another, we usually just apply your payment towards it. So don't stress. We'll look after you. We look after our students, especially ones that have like trusted us and have been with us for a while. Is the CPTE available in French? I'm assuming it will be. If you speak French though, I would go the Quebec route and see if you can do the Sherbrooke exam. If I do the November written exam, would I still be able to apply for the OC in January? Yes, you will, Jenny. Absolutely. They are giving confirmation that you will be able to. And let's see where we're at. If I complete the PC in November, will I have to retake the full CPTE in January? So no, if you complete the PC in November, you can apply for a clinical exam before the cutoff, which is probably going to be sometime in January. If I do the written exam this year and I can't book the OCE for next year, will I be able to only do the clinical part of the new exam? So great question. I don't know. My guess is probably no. I don't think they're going to separate it. But if you do the written exam this year, there should be no reason why you can't book the OCE. They're not going to they're saying they're going to get everyone through as long as you just register by January. So there's no reason why you wouldn't get in. If I pass the written component by September this year, would I be able to take the clinical? I live in Manitoba and I believe I need to be under mentorship only for a specific duration. There's quite a few questions about Manitoba. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to this. I do think Manitoba has this stuff listed on their website, but also email them. Do me a favor. If you do email CAPR, any of the colleges, and you get an answer that's even a smidgen helpful, please, please, please send it to me. It gives me information. It allows me to be able to spread that information. I will never say your name, keep everything confidential, but it does allow us to kind of gather some information. It also holds them accountable because if you send me something and I'm like, they told someone else something else, I'll tell you that too. So yeah. Okay. Let's see. Even if I pass the PCE written component, do I have to take the whole CPTE? Yes, Kenta, my understanding is that yes, you have to take the whole thing. You shouldn't have to. If you pass the written exam in 2025, you are just going to apply for a clinical exam. You're not going to apply for the CPTE. Remember this chart, everyone. You have that option. You can register for that one, or you register for one of the clinical exams. So you don't have to do written and then do another written. You can do written and then one of the clinicals. So keeping it that 2 exam pathway. Okay. I was planning to give the written exam this year, but changed my mind and I'm giving the CPTE next year. Already have the Until You Pass subscription. Will I be able to switch? Yes, you will be able to switch. Awesome. Anyone who is considering being able to switch, I do recommend that you purchase the mock exam bundle now so that you are able to make that switch. When is the CPT course starting at PT exam prep? Great question. We need more information. Not enough information out yet to release any of the courses that we've created yet. We need more information. Sorry if this is a stupid question. Never. But me wanting to come back to BC for my registration, are we still unable to work as interns? Yeah, you cannot work as interns. So professional practice pathway, you can't. BC requires you to have passed the written and clinical. Would the practice questions that PT Prep are offering, will they be updated to cater to the new format? Absolutely. We have like 2,000 questions that are currently getting updated. Yeah, so big updates happening. What's the prep pass rate for the written component? Great question. So for those students who take our premium course, they finish the course and they get over 70 or 75%, can't remember what it is, on the written exams, we have a 91% pass rate. So that means you have to do the course. And I appreciate that sounds funny, but we do have people who like register, life happens, and they're like, I'm just gonna throw an attempt out there. We don't count those people as part of our pass rate because they technically didn't do the course. So you have to have completed the course, and you have to have scored, I think it's 70% on our mocks, and then it's a 91% pass rate. So very high, very, very high. I want to give the PC in November. If I didn't pass, do I have to do the written for the new format? Yes. So my understanding, if you were to take the written in November and you are unsuccessful, you will then go and do the new CPTE exam. And my understanding is that you would only have 2 attempts. That's okay. That is still okay. Yeah, I definitely would be giving the written exam a good attempt. Like, don't throw an attempt out there. I would be working hard to prioritize doing the written in 2025 if you can. I'm losing my voice here. Okay, for the pre-approved pathway, if I only need to pass the PCE, how will that change in the new system when it becomes combined? For the pre-approved pathway, if I only need to pass. So I don't think that's a correct statement. So in the pre-approved pathway, all that means is you are, your credentialing is pre-approved. So you're just eligible to take the written exam quicker. But no matter who you are, if you were trained in Australia, if you were trained in Iran, if you were trained in India, if you were trained in Canada, it does not matter. You need to either do the 2 exam pathway or the 1 exam pathway, which is going to be the combined. So it doesn't matter. Okay. Please put your questions in the Q&A box. Keep upvoting if you can. I'm going to give you just like 1 minute to read some questions and put some upvotes in, and I'm going to take a sip of water. So we'll read some questions and upvote. Okay, let's keep going here. We'll look at these upvotes. The CPT in 2026 is virtual. Do you think they will still provide testing centers for those who are in Canada? My understanding is they're not. It's going to be a purely remote exam, is what I'm understanding. For January, there's a chance that they might do center, but I don't think so. I think it is going to be purely remote. If, for example, I passed the written exam this year and didn't pass the clinical exam, can I still book for the 2nd attempt for the clinical exam next year? Yes, you can. You got to do it fast, right? Like, you have to be registered for a clinical exam by January, it sounds like. If the premium course will be changed, including the mock exams, how will we prepare for the exam in 2025? We are not changing that classroom. It's a totally different classroom that is being changed. So what will happen is we will reach out to all those students who are in the premium until you pass subscription, and we will say, hey, the new CPTE course is ready. Do you want to stay in the one that you're currently in, or do you want us to apply your payment to switch over to the other course? So don't worry, Rose, we won't be touching the course that you are in. We will touch it for any updates that we think are necessary, but there won't be any changes that would not apply to the exams in 2025. Okay. I only have one attempt left. Which pattern should I choose? Beautiful question. So in your situation, what I would be doing is I would be trying to get through the written this year, because remember, if you pass the written, you get a new set of attempts at the CPTE, right? You get 3 attempts versus right now, what it sounds like is you're going to go into the CPTE with 1 attempt left. So I would be doing everything you can to pass that written exam in 2025. I think it's so important. Take the live written teacher course, do everything you can to get through it right now. Let's say I passed my written exam this year and was able to do my clinical exam in Jan 2026 and did not pass. What's going to happen with my remaining attempts for the clinical exam? I think what would happen is then you would have 2 attempts at the combined exam. Okay, I have not taken any exams yet. It sounds like I should try to take the 2 exam pathway this year. Would the latest exam be September? And then I have a chance to take an exam in November as potential second. So again, I think if you're wanting to do 2 attempts, you got to do July or August. Those are your options. If you do August, I think you'll have the option to do November. If you do July, I think you have the option to do September. So I would be looking at that. Anyone who has like really specific questions or wants to know if they can do it, here's the thing. We've had students do like prep for the written exam in 6 to 8 weeks. It is absolutely doable, but you are going to sacrifice so much to get there. Ideally, we have like 3 to 4 months to get you there, but I get this is unprecedented times. So if condensed study plans like need to happen, then maybe it needs to happen. Okay, I'm looking to take, what just happened? I'm looking to take the November written exam. I was wondering when the applications for the exam date open. I am aware they close October 1st. Is there a capacity, a certain number of seats? So I'm gonna answer that first. I don't know. I'm assuming that they're not gonna have capacity. I would just guess that they would just add another date on because like they got to get people through, but I don't know. If I do November, will they accommodate for those who write in the PCE in November? Yeah, like they're saying you can do a written exam in November. So you should be able to do, well, you will be able to do a clinical then. You just have to apply by January, right? Do you know if the pass fail number for the once set is 50%? No, I can absolutely tell you that there is no set pass rate. There's no set pass amount, meaning like 50% of people are gonna, it's not that. What they do is they set a passing score. So in theory, everyone can pass, and in theory, everyone can fail. But they do set the score based off of past performance. So you're not competing with those who you're in the same exam with. You're competing against those who have taken the exam before you, because they use those scores to make the pass. Quick question. Do I have to be in Canada for the OCE? I'm in the UK. No, you can do it from the UK. Hey, Karen. How many months of preparation are enough to pass the written with the premium? So I'm going to say, again, between 3 and 4 months is what I would like ideally have you do, but it has been done quicker for sure. But ideally, we're getting you in 3 to 4 months. Lumi, CPT can increase from 3 to more. Maybe there's a chance. There's a chance. I don't know though. Don't know. Okay. I am internationally trained physio and I just started to prep for my written. I took your live subscription, which will start in July. I also haven't booked my test, but my plan is to give it in November. Do you think it's enough time to prep and give this year, or should I wait and switch to do the CPTE? I think you've heard my kind of answer to this. I really do think it's nice to do it in 2025 if your life has the time. Listen, there's a thing about time, right? It is what you make of it. If you are studying from now until November and you're really working hard and you're using the right things to prep, It is enough. I talk to people all the time who take a certain prep course and they come to me and they're like, I prepped for 6 months. I did everything they told me to do and I failed. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding, you failed. It's like you just prepped to play a soccer game and then you got to the soccer game and they're like, hey, today we're playing golf. And you're like, oh my gosh, I played terrible at golf. And it's like, of course you played terrible at golf. You practice soccer. And so that's the big thing that I think that you need to know is that when you're preparing for this exam, like you got to prepare for this exam. And there's so many prep courses out there that are old, that use the old system, that are American, that have switched over and just plop a Canada sticker on it and say, here, use this American content for the Canadian one. That, like, can you tell I'm heated about this? I get so frustrated. At least 50% of my calls when people pass, when people who fail and they contact me and they're really upset, I'm like, but you didn't use the right material. Like, how can you expect this program that clearly poaches on Indian trained physios too? I will very frankly say this. They poach on you. The course is a little bit cheaper. And so people go for it and then they waste an attempt. So don't get yourself in that situation. Prep properly and absolutely doing an exam in September or November this year, if you haven't even started studying, is completely doable. Okay, I need to settle. I feel like those of you here who know what I'm talking about, who used certain prep courses and they prepped them for an exam that is not what the exam was like, you hear me, right? Make me not feel crazy. Say, I hear you, I got you, something in the chat box, something. Lots of thumbs up. Okay, cool. Thank you. Slightly embarrassed by my huge rant there, but it fires me up. It is not fair what they're doing. You're putting your trust in us, right? Like you're coming to a prep program saying, look, I need your help, right? And if we're not helping you, what the hell are we doing? Like we should be kicked out of this. So we should be helping you. Okay, I'm for real stopping now. Woo! What's the ideal time to prepare for the written component? At this stage in time, I would say it's around 4 months. Okay. Everyone, I'm so thankful for all your questions. I'm so thankful for you coming and just listening to everything that I had to say. I really, really do hope that this just makes things a little bit easier for you. I know that there are a lot of things to consider going forward with this decision, and I hope to be someone that can be in your corner and talk things through with you and strategize with you. I will be hosting another webinar just like this once we get more information. So you can look on our Instagram and all the all the invitations to come to those will be there. We'll definitely be doing more support, more webinars for people who are in our course, for people who are in the premium and then are going to switch later. And I am going to give a recording to this as well. I don't know if I should after my last rant there. But yes, I will give you a recording. Remember, this is an opinion at this point in time. This is June 5th. This is the information that we have. Things are absolutely going to change. Hopefully not too much. Hopefully you get more attempts at the CPTE and hopefully the OCE is exactly like the verbal component. Anything else we're hoping for? I guess those are my big hopes at this point. Yeah, hopefully they refresh. Like if you'd had 2 fails at the written, they're like, here, you can start again at the CPTE. I don't think that's going to happen, but everyone, thank you. Thank you so much. I really hope that I get to see you on Instagram, I guess. That's where I get to like see all these different faces on there to be like, oh, I recognize that name. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. And if you do have a question that I didn't get to, please let me know. And I am going to do another Q&A on Instagram very soon. Okay. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Bye, goodbye.